What's meant by the Hadoop? Okay, Hadoop is a combination of both HDFS and MapReduce that can be developed by the dog cutting and his team, and it is coming from the Yahoo. Okay, uh, and before using the HDFS, we are having one more file system called as the GFS. That's called Google File System. This is some of the advantages of GFS, that is called as Scalable Distributed File System for large distributed data intensive and fault tolerance. Okay. That is we're discussing in the last class, and also we're discussing the architecture of GFS. The GFS architecture mainly contains three components: GFS client, GFS master, GFS chunk server. Okay, so this is we're discussing in the last class. And the chunk we can also call it as a block. The block size, the chunk size in GFS is 64 MB. Okay, so how we are maintaining different chunks at chunk server, we are discussing with some example in the last session. Okay, so now in this session we are discussing about HDFS. That is the next concept. And also we are discussing in the last session the architecture of GFS. This is the architecture of GFS. This is the architecture of GFS. It will contain GFS client, GFS master, GFS chunk server. The actual data is stored at the GFS chunk servers. Okay, so and data is split into the number of chunks. As a chunks, the data is stored at GFS chunk server. And everything can be monitored by the GFS master. Okay, that is, it can maintain the metadata. It can metadata means the data about the data. The GFS master maintains the information about all the chunk servers. That is the state of the chunk server and what are the locations of different chunks. All those information can be maintained at the GFS master. Okay, that is discussing in the last session. Okay. So the next concept in the unit 2 is building blocks of Hadoop. Building blocks of Hadoop. Okay. So the building blocks of Hadoop in our syllabus we are having discussing about 5 components. One thing is called as a name node. The second is called as the data node. Okay. Uh, Job tracker, task tracker, and secondary name node. So these are the building blocks of Hadoop. These are the building blocks of Hadoop. Okay. The building blocks of Hadoop mainly contains 5 components: the name node, data node, job tracker, task tracker, and secondary name node. Okay. So if we can split these building blocks, we are in the last section we are discussing Hadoop. We can simply call it as HDFS plus MapReduce. HDFS plus MapReduce. So the HDFS can use for to store data. The MapReduce can use for to process the data. Process the data. Okay. So now for storing the data, we are using HDFS. So now once if you can assigning the components to HDFS, so the HDFS mainly having the name node. Okay. So HDFS architecture mainly having a name node, data node, and also you have to maintain the secondary name node. Secondary name node. Okay. So that is when we are discussing the architecture of HDFS. So the HDFS architecture mainly contains the name node, data node, secondary name node. These may also communicating with the job tracker and task tracker. Okay, but mainly the HDFS it contains the name node, data node, secondary name node. So coming back to MapReduce. Okay, so now MapReduce architecture it is used for to process the data. It can mainly contains job tracker and task tracker. Job tracker and also task tracker. So likewise, we have to categorize the building blocks of Hadoop into the Hadoop may be some combination of HDFS and MapReduce. The HDFS we may have in the name node, a data node, second the name node. Under the MapReduce, we have job tracker and task tracker. Okay. So first we have discussing the HDFS architecture, then we go for the MapReduce architecture, then we will discuss the Hadoop architecture. Okay. So once if you can see the Hadoop architecture is contains all these components: name node, data node, secondary name node, job tracker, task tracker, all these things contains in the Hadoop architecture. So first we have to split that architecture into two parts, HDFS and MapReduce. First discussing HDFS architecture, then we go for the MapReduce architecture. So before discussing the architectures of both HDFS and MapReduce, first we have to discussing some of the assumptions or the goals of HDFS. Assumptions and goals of HDFS. Okay, so as we know that HDFS is a Hadoop distributed file system. As we know that HDFS is a Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, so now it is highly fault tolerant. In the last session, we're all discussing what is the fault tolerance. Okay, and is designed to be deployed on low cost hardware. That means it should work on the commodity hardware. Works on the commodity hardware. So fault tolerance means at any point of time, if a particular system performance is degraded, then the entire application performance cannot be decreased. That is the meaning of the fault tolerance. It supports highly fault tolerance. Okay. So and HDFS provides high throughput access to application data. High throughput access to the application data and is suitable for applications that have large data sets. Okay, so as we know that this HDFS can be suitable for large data sets. If you want storing the terabytes of data, we are using the Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, so that is one of the advantages of HDFS. It relaxes few POSIX requirements to enable streaming access to the file system data. Okay. So these are some of the advantages of HDFS. So actually, initially, the HDFS can be built as infrastructure for Apache Nutch web search engine. So before the main concept, the main aim of the Apache HDFS is it is originally designed for Apache Nutch web search engine, but later on it is now an open Apache Hadoop subproject. Later on it becomes a Apache Hadoop subproject. That means actually the HDFS is initially built as infrastructure for Apache Nutch web search engine. So later on, the HDFS is now Apache Hadoop subproject. Clear? So in depth, if you are discussing some of the assumptions and the goals of, if it called as assumptions and the goals of HDFS. The first one is called as hardware failure. Called as the hardware failure. That means it is quick access to overcome the problems of hardware failure. That is one of the goal of HDFS to quickly recover from the hardware failure. So why? Because we already were discussing that in HDFS the data can be stored at different machines. At each and every machine, maybe a piece of data is stored. So when we are interconnected, a collection of networks, there may be chance to having some of the hardware failures. Okay, so now detection of faults architecture. Okay, it is having some predefined functions and some tasks are applied to detection of faults and quick automatic recovery from them is a automatic recovery from them. It is the main goal of the HDFS. Now coming back to the next goal is streaming data access. Okay, so it is uses some of the POSIX imposes many hard requirements that are not needed for applications that are targeted for HDFS. Okay, that means the POSIX semantics is a few key areas has been created to increase data throughput rates. So the throughput means the number of processes are executed per unit of time. That means it can try to execute more number of processes per unit of time by using some of the POSIX semantics. POSIX semantics. Okay, that is the next goal of Hadoop or HDFS is streaming data access. So as we know that the HDFS can also use it for storing the large amount of data. That's why another goal of HDFS is for storing large data sets. It is one of the advantage of HDFS. The data set, different types of data sets may be stored in HDFS. That may be structured data or unstructured data. Okay, that is also discussed in the earlier classes. The next one is called as simple coherency model. Simple coherency model. The simple coherency model means we have to write once, we may read many times. That means the HDFS applications can also support need a write once and read many access models for files. That's why it can support simple coherency model. We may write once and that may be read in a number of times. That means once if you are storing the data into the HDFS, then the data once if you are writing to the once if you are write the data into HDFS, the data may be read many number of the times. Okay, that's why we call as simple coherency model. And now one of the another advantage of the Hadoop, the beauty of Hadoop or also for HDFS is moving computation is cheaper than moving data. Moving computation is cheaper than moving data. So I think every developers, programming developers or designers, if they are expecting big data analytics Hadoop, this is one of the major advantage. Why they are prefer the Hadoop means the main advantage of Hadoop is moving computation is cheaper than moving data. That means just let us explain with some example. So in our traditional systems, for example, if I am writing a simple application for access the data, let's say as I am creating some registration page, I want interconnecting with some MySQL database. Clear? So I want to work with some database. But what in traditional systems can process is how the traditional systems can works is actually when we want access the data, when we want access the data from a particular database or some particular location, if you are using traditional systems or if you use some traditional applications, the entire data is move on to the application to performing the computation, to performing the computation. Okay, for example, let's say I can example the database something. For example, the database I can using. I think database size is, for example, some 256 MB of data I have maintained. Okay, so to process this data, let's assume we are having the 256 MB of data. So I want to process this data. I want to process this data. Okay. For example, to process this data, what we have to do is we have to write some logic. We have to write some logic. Maybe we are using some MapReduce technique or something. Depend upon the frameworks, we are using different logic. And assuming as we have to write the logic to process the data. That means the logic means you have to write some code. So maximum, if you are writing the code to process any data. The file may be hardly, let's take as some 2 KB of data. 2 KB of data. This is the actual logic to process the data, or the code to process the data. So now to process the data, for example, if you want, if you run this, if you run this file to process the data, the entire data is comes at to the program, to the application, to the application. Okay, in our traditional systems. In our traditional systems. That means, for example, let's take as system 1, comma, system 2, sorry. Let's take as we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's take as for 4 systems. If these are all interconnected, let's take as at system 1, we have to write application data, or we have to enter some application. That is to process the data, we have to write the application here. Let's assume this 256 of MB we are having in the remaining 5 systems, in the remaining 4 systems. Let's say the data is divided into some 64 MB. Here we are maintaining some 64 MB of data, and the remaining 64 MB is here. Okay, the next one more 64 MB of data are assuming as we are having here. Next 64 MB of data, we are having 64 MB of data is here. Let's see. That means what assuming as the network is connected with some 5 systems. On those 5 systems, at system 1, I am writing the actual logic. Okay. Now at the system 2, 3, 4, 5, remaining at the remaining 4 machines, I have to maintain the 256 MB of data. So now I want to process this data. Now I have to run this application at system 1. At system 1. So what it can do is, this 256 of MB of data is contained at 4 machines. These 4 machines data is move to system 1, move to system in our traditional systems. So the final conclusion is, in our traditional systems, when we are at the application to access the data, the entire data is move to the which one? The application. Which one to the application. So whereas in Hadoop, okay, the application is moved up to the data. That is the advantage of Hadoop. Hadoop. In Hadoop, the data is not moved up to the application. The application itself is moves on to the data. Moves up to the data. That is the advantage of Hadoop. So why it called as Hadoop? Advantage means transferring, moving 64 MB of data to the application may take the more time. Why? Because the data size is more. When the data size is more, there may be chance to taking the more time to move the data. There may be chance to having some network. There may be chance to increasing the network overhead. But whereas in Hadoop, the application is moves up to the data. So the application size is less than compared to the data. That's why the less size data is moved up to the less size application is moved up to the data. Obviously, it can take the less time. There may be chance to decrease in the network overhead. Okay, that is the advantage of Hadoop. Okay, so and in final conclusion is, moving computation is cheaper than moving data. That means in Hadoop, the application, what the logic we are writing to process the data, that application, that computation is moves to the data, rather than the data moves to the application. In traditional, maybe taking as some Oracle or some MySQL or any traditional frameworks or technologies, what the approach is, the data is moved to the application. But whereas in Hadoop, the application is moved to the data. That is the advantage of, or that is the beauty of the Hadoop. So that is one of the main advantage of Hadoop. And now coming back to the last advantage is portability across heterogeneous hardware and software platforms. That means it is portable and it is suitable to work on different platforms. That may works for maybe some Unix, maybe some Windows, or maybe some Mac. So any type of platforms, thus this HDFS can work, or Hadoop is also works. Okay, that is the another advantage of Hadoop. HDFS is designed to easily portable from one platform to another platform. So we can easily migrate it, or we can easily portable from one platform to the another platform. That is one of the advantages of HDFS. So what type of advantages we discussing here, that is also becomes the advantage of HDFS as well as also the advantage of the Hadoop. Okay, so these are some of the assumptions and the goals of HDFS. Okay, so first is hardware failure. It can easily detect and quickly recover from the hardware failure, streaming data access with the help of some POSIX rules, and it supports large data sets, and it can use a simple coherency model. That means it is used for write once, read many times, and it is moving computation is cheaper than moving data. That means we have to in Hadoop the application is moved rather than moving the data. Okay, so that is advantage of HDFS, and another advantage is called as portability across heterogeneous hardware and software platforms. Okay, so these are the some of the advantages of goals or assumptions of HDFS. Okay, now coming back to our the actual cons, what is called as the building blocks of Hadoop. Okay, so this name node, data node, job tracker, task tracker, and secondary name node. Okay, so mainly in the HDFS we're having the name node, data node, secondary name node. So first you are discussing this HDFS architecture, then you go for the MapReduce architecture. Right? So now if you can see the architecture of HDFS. So before discussing the HDFS architecture in the last session, I can also say that the architecture of HDFS is almost all similar to the architecture of Google file system. So once if you can recollect this Google file system architecture, it contains GFS client, it contains GFS master, and it contains GFS chunk server. GFS chunk server. Okay. So if we can map this GFS architecture to the HDFS architecture, the GFS master is similar to the name node. The GFS chunk servers is similar to the data node. I think everyone understand. Everyone understand. The GFS master is similar to which one? HDFS name node. The GFS chunk servers is similar to which one? Data node. Here, what the chunk servers here, a GFS architecture, GFS chunk servers is also called as a data node in HDFS. And in GFS architecture, the GFS master is also called as a name node in the HDFS. The client is same either in the GFS architecture or also called as the HDFS architecture. Clear? That's why the GFS architecture having the similar to the HDFS architecture. And one more key point is why the GFS architecture is not more popular. So why? Because the GFS architecture is given by which one? The GFS architecture is generally given by Google. GFS architecture is given which one? Google. Okay. What they can do is they are publishing one paper, okay, so with the help of GFS architecture, but they're not given the implementation of this GFS architecture, how the architecture is developed, the entire thing is not given by the Google. That means it's not a open source. It's not a open source. Okay, so it's not a. It is giving a simple blueprint. Okay, just they're giving architecture only, but how that can be developed, okay, how it can work, that type of details cannot be given by the Google. That is, it's not a open source. That's why the GFS architecture is not most powerful. It is not the GFS architecture is not a more popular. Okay, that's why the next type of architecture comes that is called as the HDFS. It must be which one? Open source. It is a open source. Okay. That means the HDFS architecture is similar to which one? GFS architecture. Whereas the HDFS is open source, the GFS is not a open source. GFS is not a open source. Now, if you can see, HDFS architecture. This is the architecture of HDFS. This is the HDFS architecture. So once if you can see the HDFS architecture, let's compare this HDFS architecture with GFS. What the GFS contains? The GFS contains GFS client, GFS master, and also GFS chunk set. GFS chunk set. Similar way, client, name node, and data nodes. Client, name node, and data nodes. Here also we are having the three components. Here also we are having the three components. Okay? So client, name node, and what's called as data node. That's why I can say that. That's what I can say that the GFS architecture is similar to what is called as the GFS architecture is similar to what is called as the GFS architecture is similar to the GFS architecture. Okay. So now that means if you can see the HDFS architecture, so it is also having the HDFS client. Okay. It is having the name node and data node. So later on we are discussing secondary name node. Okay. Forget about that one. Okay. What is the advantage of secondary name node? Okay. Why we at what situations we are in the name node? Secondary name node we are discussing also. So first that we are discussing at the maybe some Hadoop architecture. Okay. So now client, name node, and data node. Okay. So now what is the purpose of data node? What is the purpose of chunk servers? GFS chunk servers mainly used for storing the actual data. The similar way, the data node is mainly used to store the actual data. So, whereas in GFS architecture, the data is stored in terms of chunks. Okay, that means we are dividing data into a number of chunks. As a chunks, the data is stored at the chunk servers in GFS architecture. But whereas in HDFS architecture, the data is divided into blocks. Whereas in HDFS, okay, so the data is divided into which one? Blocks. Okay, so now in the older version of Hadoop, okay, the block size is 64 MB. In the earlier versions of Hadoop, okay, so the block size is 64 MB. 4 MB. Okay, so in new version of Hadoop, okay, in new version of Hadoop, okay, so the block size is 128 MB. 128 MB. Okay, so now that means we have to divide in the data number of the blocks. That's taken as we are having. Let's assume we are having the block size is 128 MB. From here onwards, we have to assuming the block size is 128 MB. Let's assume we are having the 512 MB of data. 512 MB of data. Okay, so now if you want to store this 512 MB of data on the HDFS, initially what it can do is it can split the data into number of the blocks. Okay, so now that means 512 MB of data is split into how many blocks? 4 blocks. How many blocks? 4 blocks. Okay, so what is each block size? Each block size how much? 128 MB. Right? So now the 512 MB of data, okay, the 512 MB of data is split into which one? Split into how many blocks? 4 blocks. That is, each block size is 128 MB. Now, that is using as those blocks are maybe some block 1, maybe some block 2, maybe some block 3, maybe some block 4. That is 4 blocks. Okay. So now these 4 blocks is stored at which node? The data node. These 4 blocks are stored at which node? The data node. Okay. So that is, if you can see this architecture, data node 1, data node 2, data node 3, data node 4, these are all called the data nodes. They're called as the data nodes. At each and every data nodes, it can maintain a set of blocks of data. A set of blocks of data. Set of blocks of data. Okay. So now, in the GFS architecture, we can also discussing about the replication factor. Replication factor. So here also we are maintaining the replicated data. Replicated data. So replicated data means the same copy we have to maintain at the different data nodes. Different data nodes. Here let's take as this is called as we're having the common blocks, 4 blocks. Common blocks, 4 blocks. Let assuming as we are having the data node 1, let assume we are having data node 1, okay, data node 2, data node 3, data node, and assume 4 data nodes. Having the 4 data nodes. Let assume at data node 1 I have to maintain the block 1. Let assume at data node 2 I have to maintain the block 2. Let assume I have to maintain the next block is data node 3 and at data node 4 is in the block 3. So this is called single copies. Single copies. So duplication copies means I have to maintaining V1 here, V2 also here. I have to maintaining here also I am maintaining V1 comma V2. That is you. Here I can maintaining V3 comma V2. Here I can maintaining V3 comma V2. Let's see how many copies are having V1. So all blocks are contains V1, comma V2, comma V3, and V4 contains how many copies? 3 copies. Contains how many copies? 3 copies. So total 4 blocks, each block contains 3 copies. That's why the replication factor is how much? 3. Because each block I have to maintain a different data nodes, that's why the replication factor is 3. So by default, the replication factor of Hadoop is 3 only. Now, what is the advantage of this replication factor? For example, so by maintaining 3 replication copies of each DB block is at any point of time the particular block at any point of time the particular block is crashes or the particular data node is crashes. Clear? So now this data can be taken. This data is already having some another data nodes. That's why the another data nodes take the responsibility to take the uh, block crashes block data. Okay, so I think is it clear? So now the replication factor is 3. Okay. So likewise, you have to maintain the data in HDFS. You have to maintain data in HDFS. So now you have to maintain replicated data, and also in replicated data, here also have one more concept called as rack 1 and rack 2, rack 1 and rack 2. There may be, the rack 1 means a set of data nodes can be maintained as a one rack, a set of data nodes can be maintained as the some another rack. Okay. So now why it should be helpful is, let's take as these two, data node 1 and data node 2 I have to mention as a rack 1. Data node 3 and data node 4 I have taken as a rack 2. Let us assume data node 1, comma, data node 2 I have taken as this one, rack 1. Data node 3, comma, data node 4 I have to mention as a rack 2. Let us assume. That means rack 1 contains two data nodes, rack 2 contains another two data nodes. So why it can be maintained as rack names. Let's assume, let's take as block 1. So actually block 1 contains which node? That node 1. Which node? That node 1. Okay. Let's assume the block 1 is crashes. The block 1 is crashes. So what the architecture can do is, the same block, whenever the block 1 is crashes, you can say that the Hadoop is having the fault tolerance. That means the application performance cannot be degraded at any point of time. If the system is, if the data node is crashes or the hardware is failure, the system performance cannot be degraded. That can be taken by the some another data node. Okay. For example, if the block 1 is crashes at data node 1. Okay. So what the Hadoop can do is, so the same block, if the block 1 crashes, the Hadoop can searches the same block in the same rack. The same block in the same rack. So first it can searches the same block in the same rack. So the B1 is contains in a the B1 is contains in the same rack? No. So now again the Hadoop searches the block in the another rack. What another rack? Another rack is data node 3 and data node 4. That means the B1 is available at 3 and 4. That's why the block is taken from the rack 2. Okay. So to simplify, the selection of the block, we have to maintaining the set of data nodes as a rack. So if any block is crashes, the Hadoop searches the same block. The Hadoop searches the block in the same rack. If the block is available in the same rack, then the block is taken to process the data. If the block is not available at the same rack, then the Hadoop searches in the another rack. Okay. So if another rack is, if in another rack is the block is available, then that block is used for to process the data. So for that reason, we have to maintaining the data as a number of the blocks. So number of the blocks. Okay. I think the client write the data into which one? Data nodes. That's why you have to using the client. The client may also write the data into blocks, or the client may also read the data from the racks or some of the data nodes. We call the data node, we all call data nodes. Okay. So the client may be write the data into the which data nodes. The client may also write the data into the data nodes. The client may also read the data from the data nodes. Read the data from the data. That is read and write. Clear? So now coming back to the name node. I think each and everyone understands the data node. The data node is mainly contains actual data. The actual data. So now name node, it is just like a GFS master. It is just like a GFS master. The name node can maintain the metadata. It maintains the metadata. So the metadata means just like what is the name of the file, what is the replication factor, what is the path of a file, what is the block location, what are the block locations of a particular file. So the entire information can be maintained by the name node. That means all the data nodes are under the control of which node? The name node. That means the working state of data nodes and the blocks of a data nodes, the files locations. Okay, so the replication factors, all these information can be maintained at the name node. The particular name node is working or not, the particular block is available or not. So the entire information can be available at the name node. That means the name node is periodically such the state of the data nodes. Okay, so if all the data nodes is fine, then it works good. If at any point of time a particular name node is a particular data node is not working, then the name node takes some another action. That means that means name node and data node, if you can see, the name node can be act as slave node. Okay, sorry, the name node can act as a master node. Okay, so the data node can be act as a which one? Slave node. Okay, this is a master and slave nodes. Okay, so that is if you can see something about this one. Okay, so name node and data node. Just see. Name node stores the metadata for files like directory structures of the typical file system. The server holding the name node instance is quite crucial as there is a only transaction log for file deletes, adds, replica blocks when necessary after that node is failure. Okay, that means files location, replica factors, blocks location. Okay, so the entire information can be maintained by the name node. The data node stores the actual data into the HDFS, notifies the name node of blocks it has. Okay, so that is we have to maintain the data node and also the name node. Data node and name node. So the actual data, simply the actual data is having at the data node. The name node can act as a master node. So all the data nodes are under the control of the name node. Okay. The name node contains the metadata about the data. Clear? So I think it is simple the architecture of HDFS. So from the next session, we are discussing the next type of architecture called as the MapReduce. This is all similar to HDFS. As how we are discussing the name node and data node in HDFS, the similar way here we are having the job tracker and next.